On this episode of Left Off the Map, we're going to bring the funny. We're catching up with the great Tasmanian comic or comedian Dylan Hesp. He has some great shows on YouTube. He's a fantastic guy. He's a great comedian. We're going to catch up with him today and do a little bit of a tour of Hobart and some of the great whisky places down there. We're going to go to Lark Distillery and learn all about whisky making from start to finish and have a chat with Bill Lark, the godfather of whisky in this state and probably in this country, to be honest. So before we get into that, I'm going to show you a great whisky recipe, a whisky cake, a very dense whisky cake. So you need a stand mixer just because it makes everything a little bit easier. And everything, this is not one of those things, you don't want this to be nice and light and fluffy. So you can be a little bit haphazard with how everything goes in. It doesn't get baked in a cake tin, it goes into a skillet or a fry pan and then goes into the oven. So a very, very simple cake for people who are a bit scared of baking. First thing I need to do is I'm going to cream, like with most cakes, I'm going to cream my eggs and my sugar. So I've got about 100 grams of butter there. And I've got a small skillet, so I'm going to use probably half of that. So maybe 75 grams of butter. Then my eggs, 2 eggs. Crack them in. So I'm going to cream my eggs and butter and my sugar. And then some sugar. I'll use about 3/4 of a cup. If you're making a big one, you'd use 1.5 cups. Now I'm going to bring all that together. Let's turn that off so you can hear me. That's going to take about 5 minutes, so it's nice and light and fluffy, and then we're going to add our next ingredients, which are going to be our polenta and our flour. Once we add those, we're going to start to form a bit of a batter. Now the batter is going to be quite thick. It's going to be almost more close to a scone batter than a cake batter. So we're going to wet it down with a little bit of milk, a little bit of whiskey, and then we've got some vanilla, cinnamon, and a little pinch of baking powder just to give it a slight raise when it's cooking. All right, that's been a few minutes, so we can turn that off. We've got everything mixed together. You've got a nice, light, fluffy sort of mixture. Polenta. About a cup of polenta, we'll go the full amount. About the same of flour, so equal parts polenta to flour. Plain flour. Actually don't want this to raise too much, we want it to be nice and dense, which is what most polenta cakes are. Bring that together gently. And now it is a bit of a sort of close to it's a thick cake mixture. So we want to add a little bit of milk to thin that up. Not much. About the same amount of milk to whiskey. It's a very smoky whiskey and we're not burning off any of the alcohol, so you don't need a lot of it. Vanilla. About a tablespoon of vanilla. A little bit of baking powder, not much, 1/2 teaspoon baking powder, and then some cinnamon, about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Bring that together again. And now you're checking to see whether you need to add any more flour, whether you need to add any more polenta. So we'll let that mix in. I do want a little bit of lemon juice. So probably the juice of 1/2 lemon. Speed that up a bit. Don't worry about overworking it. Remember, we're not trying to make this light and fluffy. Right, we'll see if it needs any more flour. It does need a touch more flour. Needs a good pinch of salt for sure. A little bit more flour. We didn't quite put the same amount of flour as polenta in before. It's going to be a bit better. I reckon I'm there. So Give that a try. Oh, it's a great cake, just that whiskey is really strong. I'm happy with that, it's good. So I did have my griddle pan or my fry pan or my small pan on to begin with, and I've turned it off now, so it is warm. So just like you do with a hot cake, we're going to start cooking this in the pan. So that's nice and warm. I'm going to pour it in. Remembering this is not going to raise like a hot cake will. It will raise a little bit, but then it's going to collapse. Ooh. That. Ooh, that is hot. All right, this can go into our oven, set at 185. You want to leave about 1 centimetre at the top. So that little bit of a rise and then a collapse. So pop that in. That's going to take about 35 minutes in there to cook. Now, once that's done, we're going to bring it out. I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of brown sugar on top while it's nice and hot, and then that'll sort of melt a little bit. And once that's done, once you've seen that, we're going to head off. Me and Dylan will go for a little trip around Hobart and catch up with Bill Lark and the Lark Distillery. Lark whisky was developed by Bill Lark, and he started the whisky industry in Tasmania 20-some years ago. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Ben.
Good to see you again, mate.
Good to see you.
Hey, mate. Dylan, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, we figured we'd just show you through the production process again, get you some tastes.
Sure.
And sneak some whiskey out of some
It's gone
barrels.
nuts in Tassie, hasn't it, whiskey?
Berserk. Yes. Yeah.
How many distillers or producers are there now?
Last time I counted, over 40.
In a tiny little island.
Far out.
Yeah, yeah, and the majority of those have, kind of been licensed in the last few years. So.
And Lark was at the forefront, wasn't it? It was like
Absolutely, the very first.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to get the law changed
Yes.
to make it feasible.
So what's the first step in the process of making good whiskey?
First step in the process of making good whiskey for us is always paying kind of really close attention to everything that we're doing. But yeah, that kind of translates straight into your ingredients. And for us, that's going to be our first ingredient, which is our grain. We'll give you a taste of it if you want.
Cool.
Cool.
So, how distillation works, this is a massive kettle with a lid.
Yeah.
We're going to be heating up liquid in the bottom there. We've just got big electric elements in the bottom there. They're going to heat up that liquid, and eventually some of it's going to get to its boiling point. It's going to evaporate up into the body of the still.
Yeah.
What we're taking advantage of with distillation is that the stuff that we want to end up with, so flavour and aroma and alcohol, all those things when you zoom right in on them are much lighter than water, which means they evaporate at lower temperatures than water. So what we're going to see happening is those things lifting up into the still. We're going to leave all that water and all that heavy kind of nasty stuff that we don't want behind.
I consider myself a reasonable whiskey buff. You're brand new at it. Have you learned a lot?
I've learned a lot. It's been great to see the process and also to kind of get a bit more of an appreciation for the flavour as well.
So we might be able to get you a drink of whiskey at the bar we're going to next instead of ordering one of your vodka cruisers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll drop the Bacardi Breezer tonight just for you. How about that?
Sounds good.
Great.
Mate, thank you so much for giving us a bit of insight into how whiskey's made and the time and the effort that goes into it at Lark.
No worries, my pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate. Inside Mac 1 is the opulent Evolve Spirit Bar, which has just been awarded Australia's best hotel bar and Tasmania's best bar by Bartender magazine. The bar is stocked with an array of spirits to satisfy those with even the most discerning tastes. And proudly on display is a collection of fossils, ranging from a Triceratops horn to a Russian cave bear. Behind the bar today is Alistair Broadhurst, who is sharing with us his years of experience and passion for the craft of bartending. I should have known I'd find you here.
Hey, mate. Good to see you again.
I'm Ben.
Alistair, how's it going?
Nice to meet you, man. This has won awards, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Alistair was just saying about it before.
Yeah, so it's been phenomenal. We've been open for 10 months, and at the Bar Awards last night, which are the biggest in the industry, we won Best Bar and Best Hotel Bar in Australia. And then the other one we won was Best Bar in Tasmania.
Wow.
It's the best of the
That's
best.
great. There we go. You've picked the right place for me.
What do you think it is about the bar that wins awards like that? I mean, obviously there is a huge array of different spirits that people can try, and it's got a really cool feel, but you've been here for 10 months. What is so special about the place?
It's definitely a combination of the environment and the people. As you said, Mac 1 is a storytelling hotel, and that's what they wanted in this bar. So spirits, the people, the guests, everyone interacts, and it all tells a story. And that's what I think contributes so much to what makes this bar so special.
The first thing I noticed when I walk in, there is a massive skeleton over there.
So the concept of Evolve was the evolution of spirits, and working together with a local Hobart businessman who had a collection of fossils, they integrated the whole theme of evolution.
There we go.
So whenever I go to what I consider to be a good bar, the first thing I always quiz the person behind the bar on is if I give you a little bit of information about me and about Dylan, can you suggest the perfect drink for us to finish our day?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll go first.
Great.
We went and visited Lark Distillery, which I can see you've got some of the Lark spirits here as well. Background, I'm a chef. I've got a restaurant, 2 kids. I've had one day off in about 8 years. So anything that's going to help me just chill out and relax is going to be good for me.
Excellent.
And Dylan's background.
So my background, I'm a comedian, so I make comedy content for the stage and the screen and the internet as well. So I love that part of Tasmania and being here, which is kind of like you can do anything in Tasmania.
So we're going to go with Hobart whiskey. This one here is a release that's only done once a year
Oh, Winter Feast.
for the Winter Feast.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And so it's something quirky and creative.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is they finish the cask off in a rum maple barrel. You can drink it, but you can probably also pour it on your pancakes in the morning.
All right, is this it?
That's it.
All right, let's do it.
Get into it.
Yeah, let's get some pancakes. That's some good stuff.
All right, for yourself, Lark 40 Spotted Gin,
Wow.
fresh mint, lime juice,
Oh, that's going to be good.
That looks
a
great.
citrus husk cordial.
Yeah.
Exactly what you want to wind down and refresh.
Yeah.
Here we are. Try this one.
Thank you. Mine looks like it's going to be a little bit more refreshing than yours.
It does. How is it?
Oh, you wouldn't even know there's alcohol in that.
Did my job then.
Yeah. Well, mate, we'll finish these off.
Yeah.
And then we'll get up to our rooms.
Yeah, thanks,
Might
mate.
have
pleasure, guys.
Great day.
Oh, it's been brilliant.
Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. I can recommend to anyone, if you're going to do a tour of Tasmania, find a comedian and do it with a comedian.
Thanks for a good one.
When I moved back to Tasmania in 2010, Bill Lark was one of the first people I met and first people I heard so much about. The way he changed the spirit and whiskey industry in this state is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to finish off with another whiskey recipe. I'm going to do a chocolate mousse with a whiskey caramel corn. First thing I'm going to make is the mousse. So we've got a double boiler happening here, which basically means I've got this glass bowl, I've got water that's going to come to the boil, and that's going to gently cook our chocolate so we don't burn and separate our chocolate. So that's probably going to take 5 to 10 minutes for that to melt. You'll see, once we get that done, we'll add our cream, we'll get it into here and we'll go through that process. But you know what that process is now. I'll probably use, for the amount we've got there, we've got 200 grams of chocolate, 100 mils or grams of cream, and I'll end up using 1 egg white. Now, Once I've blitzed it, if one egg white isn't enough, I might add another, but we'll see how we go. Just added my last little bit of cream to that, just to help cool it down a bit and just loosen up my ganache. I just want to let that cool now because the next step is to add some egg whites to it. And I don't want those egg whites to cook. So I'm going to leave that for a bit to cool. And while we're leaving that to cool, I'm going to make my caramel popcorn. So basically my caramel popcorn can go in under the heat. So all we're trying to do is infuse some whiskey into our caramel popcorn. So whiskey, a little bit of vanilla. I would say a little bit of extra sugar, a little pinch of salt, but it definitely doesn't need a little bit of extra sugar because there's a lot of sugar on the outside of that caramel. And we should get a bit of a flambe here. And that'll just burn out on its own. All right, so turn that heat off. Give that a stir. And we now have, so we've gone from having that sort of kid-friendly version of carameled corn, caramel popcorn, to now like an adult whiskey, smoky whiskey version of it. So, our chocolate ganache, our whiskey caramel corn. So now, the last step is to make our mousse. So you just want to make sure our chocolate is cooled enough that it's not going to cook our egg whites when we add them. Just want to taste that as well. Make sure. Chocolate Freddo frog in a drink, basically. But there's no reason why you couldn't just have that on its own. All right, so pour this into our food processor. Oh, yum. Give that a little blitz again, just to try and take the last little bits of heat out of there that might cause me some problems with my egg. All right, so that should get rid of all of the extra heat. So I need one egg white. Egg white in. I'll start with one and see whether that's gonna be enough. So blitz that. You're gonna need to blitz for a reasonably long time. Check that. You probably could put an egg yolk and an egg white. So I might do a full egg for this one because the yolk is really just gonna make the mixture really shiny. So I'll put a whole egg in and blitz again. So I'll pop this in. This will need to set this mousse, obviously. So normally you'd probably wait until that mousse had set, but I can't wait. So you've got this sort of caramelly, whiskey, smoky, yummy popcorn mixture. That's mine. So there you go. You've got this sort of chocolate mousse, this big amount of chocolate mousse, mixed all through it. You've got these crunchy, beautiful pieces of smoky, whiskey, caramel, salty goodness. Pop that in a fridge, let it set, and then you'll, I can't wait to eat it. I can't explain it. You've got to try it at home. You do not understand how good this is. Try this one at home, you'll absolutely love it. So there we go, lots of different ways you can use whiskey in in recipes that you probably haven't thought of before. So far, that is my dish of the season. Try this one at home, email us, get in contact with social media and let me know how yours went.